But truly, one day I was sitting and the kids were out skiing with my wife, truly just looking at it, and I had an epiphany, just a flash, which is where the name of the book came from, also came from my last company, that in those memoirs was a pattern I had never recognized before. And by this time, I was sitting on boards of companies, public companies, private companies, advisory boards, etc. Hadn't seen as much as a VC, but had seen a lot. And then realized I was looking at a pattern I had never seen anybody else describe. It is that, here was a failure pattern that we were doing time and time again that the VCs weren't telling us about. And I went, could it be? Could it, it was like we had venture capital banking with them for 40 years. What the hell, And so I started talking to my VC friends, and they went, oh yeah, we kind of know this. Oh yeah, you kind of know this. How come you don't tell the rest of us? Well, it's not our job. Well, wait a minute, what's your job? Steve, we're just doing fine. We got a great IRR. The system works, Well,
mess it up for us.
But yeah, there's a bunch of wreckage. Don't you think you could improve the IRR if we kind of reduced infant mortality? Yeah, maybe, but that's not what we do. And if you really think about it, VCs are just an extended form of a financial asset class. That takes much different risks. But if they were creative and innovative, they'd have your jobs. No, it's no joke. And it doesn't mean they're stupid or whatever, but they're not what they do. They don't have huge visions. They're sometimes smart enough with pattern recognition skills to recognize great teams and great market opportunities, but expecting this to come from VCs, I guess in hindsight, now that I realize this, would have been a surprise. But the other thing that I noticed was no one had written this down. And so the other part of my career was I had decided after I had gotten lucky at Epiphany, which was my last company, that I was going to give back to the community that was so great to me for 20 years. I mean, this was just a classic American success story. And so we set up a foundation, and I, did a bunch of stuff in conservation and the environment. And then I decided I'd like to teach, because it was actually the first job I had in Silicon Valley, and I moved into marketing for the next 20 years. But I actually enjoyed it, and I thought it would be great to somehow give back to students what I had learned. But, most of the entrepreneurs who taught at the time basically were coming in and telling war stories. Let me tell you how it was when I was, blah, 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 which is kind of interesting, but after a while, it's kind of like eating candy. There's, you're still hungry later. And I decided that maybe it was interesting to take this observation about this pattern and turn it into a class. And so I wrote a class for UC Berkeley in the business school called Customer Development. And I was practicing some of these ideas, and at the same time, an old VP of engineering of mine from rocket science days, a guy named Harvey, was starting it's like fifth company with a real young, hot co-founder. And Will wanted to raise money from me yet again. And this time I said, Will, why don't you and your co-founder sit through my class and see if you can learn something here. Steve, I said, Will, come on. But by the first class, his co-founder was really getting into this and saying, hey, yeah, and do you know about agile engineering? And I'm going, what's that? And we had a great time. And so the co-founder, and I kind of knew him because I was on their board of their last company, which had cratered, called There.com, and the co-founder's name was Eric Ries. So Eric sat through my customer development class, and it was Eric who said, Steve, you've been Xeroxing your class notes. Why don't you just stick them together in a book? You're on the board of Cafe Press, self-publish this damn thing and stick it on Amazon. I said, Eric, what a great idea. And so the 4 steps of the Epiphany, came from Eric Ries sitting in my class. And the Lean Startup movement came from me sitting on Eric's board at IMVU. And Eric was the first guy to recognize that it was not only customer development, that it was the combination of customer development and the whole agile engineering methodology that had emerged since I had been an entrepreneur that really made a powerful combination. And that's where the whole Lean Startup movement started as well.